from our audience for Mike and Lynn. Yeah.
This question is for you, Lynn. In bringing in a partner like Russia, what is the single most, biggest challenge of bringing in somebody like that, or is there a single one that was the most challenging?
Yeah, I think what was challenging about bringing Russia in is Russia was a very mature partner who had tremendous expertise in human spaceflight, and they had been flying space stations for many, many years. So they came in with a great deal of expertise and national pride and viewed themselves as, at the forefront of this field. And here we were starting out on this space station feeling exactly the same way. And so bringing together those two cultures at the beginning, it was like having each of us sitting there thinking, I'm better than you are. And once you could get people to talk to one another and recognize we had the same goals, we both had engineering expertise, and actually we had good complementary skills because NASA working with the shuttle had been doing a lot of short duration but very complex missions, and Russia had great expertise in long duration space flight with their stations, and they'd learned a lot of lessons. And once we had our teams working together, and we had a cosmonaut fly on the shuttle, we had an astronaut go to Mir, and we started to learn from one another. And as soon as people recognized we actually can learn from one another, then it sort of spread, and you got beyond that. But it was bringing two very different cultures with a lot of pride together and getting them to recognize that we could learn from one another.
But we did learn that we actually engineered some things differently, from a technical standpoint, and it took a while, not just with the translation, but really kind of building, we called it a lexicon at the time of, well, what does certification mean to you? What does verification mean to you? What do these kinds of test modes? And I think the biggest I remember was we never could resolve pressure testing of modules because the Russians just put it in a big thermal vac chamber and pull the pressure down and test the integrity of the module. We tend to overpressure. We bag on the outside of the module. We overpressure to make sure nothing leaks on the outside. And the Russians were convinced that that was not, the metallurgy was different. That was not going to test the same phenomena. And if you think back, we ended up reactivating the thermal vac chamber in the O&C building down at KSC really just for that reason. So we did the lab and the airlock in that thermal vac chamber down at Kennedy just because we never really could quite get to that agreement until then we tested, and now we've flown those modules, so we have better agreement what we do. So it takes a while to, and I think that was the fact that we had not done anything with the Russians since Apollo Soyuz and really had a lot of catching up to do, if you will.